We learned is that no matter what excuse you use for Antonelli winning the sprint qualifying today or getting pole position, whatever excuses you come up with, it's still the case that the guy is unbelievable, that the hype around him is maybe not even enough. You know, people might say that it's because it's the sprint qualifying and the guys in McLaren aren't dialed in the way they're supposed to be dialed in yet because they're working things out. Maybe you could even say that Verstappen is, as usual, lagging in the early parts of the race weekend and will find his way in Q3 in the real race. But whatever you say, this is fantastic for an 18-year-old kid to go and sprint in a pole qualifying in the fastest sport on earth. It shows that he really is a prodigy like they say he is, and in the future we will be seeing him win championships. Now I want to say that coming into this, we said here at Formula One Fanatics that Mercedes would do very well. I had them as the second fastest car, and I had them getting someone to go in P3, which would be George Russell. I thought that Russell would go P3 and Verstappen would go P4 because the Mercedes car has a Mercedes engine just like McLaren, and it does very good well with traction and power and things which are needed for this type of track, which has a lot of traction zones and braking zones, as well as slow speed corners, which rely a lot more on traction and stability at the back, which Red Bull doesn't have, and McLaren may have it, but Mercedes has it almost just as good as they do, and is almost even with them on slow speed tracks. McLaren will beat Mercedes on high speed tracks, so they're flexible. But we all thought that if whoever would be in the front, if it had been George Russell on pole, we wouldn't have minded because he's been close, but it was Antonelli. So once again, I'll say, to beat his teammate by 0.5 of a second, to beat Piastri by 400ths, which now 400ths is a lot now, as close as these qualifiers have been, and to beat Lando Norris by 1/10 at his age is fantastic. Now we will say that this track suits him better than a track like Suzuka or Jeddah, which is high speed, because right now he doesn't do very well with mid to high speed corners and technical stuff, but he's fantastic, just as good as any driver in F1 when it comes to slow speed corners. I think Peter Windsor said that a couple of weeks ago, and now looking at it, I agree. So as time goes by, he'll learn how to deal with high speed corners a lot better and learn how to deal with technical corners. But so far, so good. Very quickly, what Antonelli is showing, and this is the reason people signed him at such an early age of 17, they have a metric on these drivers. The kid can handle speed, has a phenomenal feel for grip, guys like Verstappen and co. And that's showing, especially shows today at Miami, which does not have a lot of grip. And he's able to find a lot more than many people. So this is an indicator that he's going to be a world champion. That intuitive feel for grip. Hamilton had it. Verstappen had it. Schumacher had it too. I'm not sure about Alonso. I have to go through my research. But I feel he does, from what I've heard. Also learned is that, unsurprisingly, Red Bull will struggle relative to Mercedes and relative to McLaren when it comes to this track. And we've seen this pattern all year. On slow speed tracks, they do not do well. I think the last time around, Verstappen might have come 6th. I think that was at, Abu Dhabi or somewhere. It was one of the early, it wasn't Jeddah, but the other Middle Eastern race. Remember, it's at Bahrain. So coming into this, we said that most likely he would come 3rd, at best 4th. So it's no surprise that he gets 4th in qualifying. That might even be a pretty good position. At least he's beating the Ferrari pair, and he beat Russell, which was a big surprise, seeing as Russell finished behind Antonelli. But the point I was making is that they weren't expected to do well. But from what I saw, Verstappen looked very stable in these early in the FP1, free practice 1, and in the sprint qualifiers. He looked stable. He looked good, a lot better than he usually does look on early weekends on any track, to be honest with you, but especially on a track like this, which he absolutely hates because the Red Bull is built for, especially the Red Bull that he drives, is built for technical tracks, high-speed corners, which is what he likes, where he can really play off of that high downforce. So, no surprise that he came P4 in qualifying. We got to remember this is still early, but I see him continually getting better. Well, they don't have much more. He just has the race, and after the race they'll have qualifying. Then after that you go to park firm. You can't change your car. But I still believe that they've made a lot of improvements, especially since they brought the new floor, which he has. This floor might be more flexible and help them to do well on both high-speed technical tracks and low to mid-speed tracks like this. So to me, it's a good sign that he looks stable. He wasn't complaining too much about stability and things like that. It's just that you're not going to beat the two McLarens and apparently Antonelli and a Mercedes on this track. I never thought that Red Bull, I thought that Max is very good, but I felt that on this track, Mercedes has the second fastest car, and I was expecting Max to be fighting Russell for qualifying in the main race and in the sprint. We'll end where we need to end, on the tail end, with the shit show at Ferrari. Well, once again, I got to say, you got to watch our show because we do make good predictions. I predicted that in the race and in qualifying, Leclerc would be beating Hamilton by only half of what he usually beats him, by 0.3 of a second rather than 0.6, which was the blowout, I think, in Jeddah or perhaps in Suzuka or perhaps in Bahrain. But meanwhile, he's been gapping Hamilton by 4 to more tenths of a second. But I predicted that Hamilton would be a lot closer, within 0.3, because once again, Leclerc is a fronty driver, and he's also does a lot better on high speed tracks. He may not like this type of track, which is low to mid speed, with doesn't have those technical corners and those fast corners where he can show people who he really is. So I predicted that Hamilton would finish a little bit higher, and this type of track is made more for Hamilton, who wants to have some stability in the back. And with a track like this with slow speed corners, there's a lot, I think, well, I kind of contradicted myself. There may not be, but it seems that he would do better on this type of track because the advantage that Leclerc has on high speed corners is not there. So good job by Hamilton, I suppose.